Okay. Whoops. Look, I remembered instead of saying it doesn't work, I actually turned it on this time. Woohoo! It happens when you do things like that. So we're going to talk new books, which is just terrible. Karen and I have the best job in the world because part of our job is getting paid to read books and tell other people about them. And everybody says, we want your job. And it's like, then write a dissertation, get a doctorate, and come teach for us. We'll always have an opening, so we hope you'll actually think of it. I'm going to move through this. It's the same thing as before, and this too will go up online. So you'll be able to find it at bit.ly/PPPD2016. The presentation from this morning is already uploaded as a YouTube video. So if you go there, you'll see the one on graphic novels. So it's there. Avail yourselves of it. If you want to share it with other people, some people were saying, gosh, my teacher really needs to hear more about graphic novels. Show it, if they'll give you some time. Or give them the link and tell them here's some information about graphic novels. Today we want to talk about good books. And I love this meme. Innocent bystander, know of any good books? Me. I don't think you're ready for this conversation. We get asked all the time, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite book? And there is not a book that is our favorite. There are books, plenty of books. And we've scaled down so that it'll fit within the time frame here, but understand that, again, last night Karen and I were both adding books we've recently read to the presentation, because when we read a book and we love it, it goes right in.
Our favorite is often the one we're reading now. You know,
yeah.
Changes.
That I can actually answer. Before we talk about brand new books, we want to make sure that you've read the award winners for this year. If you've not read, this is such a wonderful collection of Newberys this year. What a great, great group of books. The Girl Who Drank the Moon is just absolutely mesmerizing in its language and in its story, as is Wolf Hollow and Freedom Over Me. And I loved Inquisitor's Tale, which is Canterbury Tales for Kids. Oh, see, some of you haven't read it. And that's one you give to the English teachers who say literature needs to be rigorous. It needs to be millions of years old to be any good. No, it doesn't. Here's a good example of that. And of course, the Caldecott winners. There's Leave Me Alone by Vera Brosgol. We talked about her graphic novel this morning. The winner is Javaka Steptoe for Radiant Child, which we adore. It's a biography. Freedom in Congo Square, and They All Saw a Cat. I will tell you that Do Is Talk, sorry. All of these books are on what I call the chalk ledge, but it's a whiteboard now. So what do you call it, a whiteboard ledge? In our conference room, because we start each faculty meeting with books. And so yesterday, Tuesday, the new books that Karen and I have read were all over the conference room, and people were flipping through them and reading them and saying, oh, can I take this? Can I take that? Because that's what we're about. We're a library science program. We train, we educate school librarians, so lots of books there. There's the book I alluded to this morning, The March, Book 3, won the Prince, the Coretta Scott King, the Seibert, and the Yalza Nonfiction Award, in addition to the National Book Award. You see, there's only one sticker on that one right now. But if you put the others, they actually have had to put stickers on the back of this book. The Morris Award is given for Best Debut Novel. And I always want to highlight this because I don't think people know this enough. And here's an opportunity to get in kind of on the ground floor with an author. And Karen was talking about her author crushes earlier. This is mine.
Ooh.
He is adorable. He is a lawyer, number one. So he's already making money and not from books. And he's got wonderful tattoos as well, and they all relate to the books that he's writing. So he has a Serpent King tattoo, and his new book, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is there too. The Serpent King is about the son of a preacher man. His dad was founded a church where people would handle snakes and do all kinds of things like that. Unfortunately, his father also did other things that aren't very Christian, and he's ended up in jail. And so you've got this kid who's kind of wearing that onus of dad being in prison, and his two best friends, and they live in a really small town, and they want to get out. They want to make something of themselves. So these are about kids growing up poor, trying to set goals, trying to achieve, and how difficult it is sometimes to do that. We talked about the Put a Belpre this morning, our good lowriders there. Radiant Child is a biography by Javaka Steptoe. And if that last name sounds familiar, his dad was John Steptoe, who also won a few Caldecott's and Coretta Scott King medals. And this is the son now fulfilling his father's beginnings. Radiant Child is the biography of Jean-Michel Basquiat, who was an illustrator, an artist who used found objects, hubcaps, just things that were blowing along in the sidewalk, and created this incredible art that during his lifetime people didn't appreciate. And of course, now that he's gone, they understand the brilliance of his work. So just a beautiful biography that talks about perseverance, that talks about art. Your art teacher would absolutely love to have it.
And what's interesting about that one is it is done in the style of
Basquiat.
Yeah, of Basquiat. What she said. So he's used found objects in that illustrations of that biography.
I know you want to talk about this one.
Well, Elephant and Piggy books are finished. You know, we had that thank you book, and that was the final one. But they're still in our lives because they have their own reading label series now.
Imprint,
that's the word. And so one of the first, there were two books that came out as their first books for this imprint. And this was one of them. We Are Growing, and it won the Geisel Award, and it deserved it. This one had us rolling, and it's just the story about some blades of grass. But it is such a great book for language because it focuses on superlatives, the IEST, the EST words. I'm the twistiest. I'm the tallest. I'm the
curliest.
And so it goes through all of them. All of these blades of grass are talking about how they're all different. And, there's a lawnmower involved and some other things. But this is it's hilarious. And we have not been disappointed with this imprint yet.
And Elephant and Piggy are characters that introduce the story.
Yeah, they start reading at the beginning and close us out at the end.
So we're going to start with the strongest book so far this year, 6 starred reviews, which is the maximum you can receive. So every reviewing journal has given this a starred review, and it is absolutely deserving of it. This is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It is incredible. There are hardly words to even describe what goes on in this book. It's one of those that when you pick it up, you read the first chapter, and you're hooked. And in the second chapter, our main character is out driving at night with a former boyfriend, and they get pulled over by the police. And he is shot to death by the policeman. That's chapter 2. And then it keeps going after that. And it talks about growing up. It talks about the challenges of growing up, especially when you're African American. It talks about the lessons that you have to learn and how you persevere. It's just an incredible piece of work. There are only 2 books that have received 6-star reviews. This is one of them. The other is the new biography of Vincent and Theo Van Gogh by Deborah Heiligman. It's this thick. It's sitting on my bedside table mocking me right now. Read me, but you're so thick. Read me.
And this book is a new book by Alan Gratz. Takes place at the main character, the 4th grade girl who loves reading. She is just appalled one day when she goes into her school library to ask for one of her favorite books and is told that it is no longer available because the book has been banned from their school because a parent complained about it. She decides to stage her own protest, silent as it may be, by starting a banned book library out of her locker. And so books start circulating through school from her locker, and it's a great story of how to stand up for something you believe in and doing something about it, and who really has the right to tell you what you can read.
This is the new Katherine Applegate, and probably that's all I need to tell you. The one and only Ivan, if you've not read her. She also, with her husband, by the way, wrote the Animorphs series, which were hugely popular when I was teaching middle school. This is called Wish Tree, and the entire story is told from the point of view of the tree and what's going on in the tree's neighborhood. But once a year, people come and tie their wishes onto the branches of the tree. It is absolutely magical, lyrical. I'm hoping that the Newbery Committee is reading this 14 times already and getting ready to say this is phenomenal. The book has just published.
A hungry lion or a dwindling assortment of animals. So at the opening of this book, we have a nice double-page spread. Oh, there we go. Double-page spread of some animals. Once upon a time, there was a hungry lion, a penguin, a turtle, a brown mouse, those two rabbits, one with ears that fluff, one with ears that did not fluff, a frog, a bat, a regular-sized pig, and a koala. Now, you turn the page, and it starts to go off and tell the rest of the story, but then it says, hey, wait, they turn around, and an animal is missing. And so it starts again. Once upon a time, there was a, but it leaves off an animal. It's a great book with very subtle, sly humor, and the ending is a great surprise ending that really they won't see coming.
We talked about Spill Zone this morning, so we'll move. This is one of the Elephant and Piggy books. This is the brand new one. It's by Cherise Merrickley Harper, and it's called The Good for Nothing Button. And Chicken runs in and he says, look what I have, look what I have. It's a button and it's not good for anything. I love that already.
And he's like, see?
Nothing. And so his friend's Bluebird hits it. And he says, well, I don't know. It makes me kind of happy, so maybe it is good for something. Yeah. Redbird says, let me try.
Oh, it surprised me.
Yeah.
And so he gets angrier and angrier as we go through this story because it's like, no, this is a good for nothing button. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't surprise you. It's good for nothing. And then they say, well, it's making you angry. And so he just can't win. He can't win.
Kids will adore this story. It's just a yuck a minute.
Goldfish Ghost.
I love this.
Very simple story. Lemony Snicket. This goldfish ghost was born at the top of a bowl of water, it says. So I'm like, that's when he woke up as a ghost.
Floating upside
down. And he's upside down the whole book. Basically, he wants to see more than his bowl. And so he floats out and he starts trying to find a place where he feels comfortable. He doesn't feel comfortable in the ocean. He doesn't feel comfortable in the street with the kids. He doesn't feel comfortable in a lot of places. But eventually he finds a perfect place for him to feel comfortable and to have a companion. Dan Santat, I love this man. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is an F&G, which stands for Folded and Gathered. Because the first time somebody said, would you like an F&G? I thought, well, that's kind of rude. I'd like a G. Galley, I thought it was a galley, but I thought she was calling it an effing galley. It stands for Folded and Gathered, and it's what a picture book looks like pre-publication. This is what happens after all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put Humpty together again, but a good doctor can. So this is what happens after the fall. And after the fall, Humpty is really afraid of heights. You might imagine why that is. This is Dan Santat. It is screamingly funny. And it helps us as teachers and you as librarians to determine whether or not kids know Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, whether they know those nursery rhymes. We're hearing more and more, and it's been probably for the last dozen years, that kids come to school not knowing nursery rhymes, not knowing the standard fairy tales. And so this will tell you right away, do they know this? If not, it's time to go back and read them Humpty Dumpty and probably a lot of the other stories.
In addition to being funny, it's also very touching. Because of his fear, he is having to basically stop doing his passion. And the reason he was up on the wall in the first place is because he liked to bird watch. And he could be closer to the birds. But now he's on the ground and he can't see them as well. So he has to decide, is he going to become brave enough again to climb that wall so he can continue with what he loves.
Did you take the B from my ook?
Such a good participation story with your kids.
Our chair, Holly Weimer, was reading it as we're getting ready for, was it before the graduate seminar that we were doing online, and then sharing it with Elizabeth Gross, our newest faculty member, going, look, 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 just the same way we do with books we love. So did you take the B from my ook? Because now I can't find my utterfly. So all the words that start with B, like brilliant, have lost it. Where is the B? Help me find the B to put it back in my ook.
And they rely on the audience, the kids, to help get that B back.
Do you want to talk about
Firefighter duckies, they are so brave, and they are so quick, and they help everybody with their problems. Everybody loves the firefighter duckies. But they basically, as happens with people that are doing so much, they get worn down and tired. And so eventually, they need someone to take care of them.
And just the cover and the big mouth drop kind of thing. You already know what you're in for.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah, Bob Shea, the scariest book ever. I don't think you really need to tell kids too much more. You just kind of put that out and then move slowly away from it so they don't trample you on the way to get it. And again, talk about color symbolism. You've got a black cat, a white ghost. You turn to the inside pages, everything's really dark for a while. But, you know, scary only lasts for so long in a 32-page picture book. It's also very funny.
Yeah, what's great too is he's drinking, the ghost is drinking orange juice on the very first page. He's like, boy, orange juice. I sure do hope I don't spill it on my, and then he's all over his little white thing. And so he has to take off his white, like, sheet. And then through the rest of the book, he's just, it's a shiny underneath. He's just a transparent. It's cute. Nerdy Birdie. Very good. Story cute, funny. Cute illustrations, I guess is what I mean. I love the illustrations. It kind of reminds me of the 70s and the, like, Schoolhouse Rock type stuff. I don't know, that's what I see. But basically it's finding a place to belong is what this story is. Some people, or some of the birds, don't want this nerdy bird, the bird with glasses, to be with them. And so he has to find a place to belong. He says, so come with us, after all. There's always room for another nerdy bird. So, and he finally finds a place.
You see the one that has the t-shirt that says, I love coding? There. And there's one with a bow tie, one carrying a briefcase, one with glasses. Yeah. All the stereotypes of nerd are here. Here is Baby Mouse getting ready to go to middle school. It's called Lights, Camera, Middle School. And it starts with the particular hell that is middle school. Although she doesn't use that term. This is Baby Mouse, by the way. Everywhere you turn, somebody was trying to eat your brains. But somehow the scariest thing about middle school involved whiskers. And believe me, I know whiskers. My name is Baby Mouse, and this is my tail from the locker. And it's about all the things that you encounter when you go from that safe elementary school to the jungle that is middle school, where you have to learn how to fit in and where you're the youngest ones there and you get lorded over by the older kids in your school. Every single thing rings absolutely true. And for Baby Mouse, it's a little worse. And she's having real problems with her whiskers now. Because in middle school, your whiskers are never right. They're either too curly or too straight or too long or too short. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I'll catch you if you fall. It's a mother-baby story, you know. Oh wait, there it is. Very nice language. Good illustrations as well. I will hold him close and never let him, whatever.
Lean too far.
Lean too far. So safety. It's definitely one to share for happy thoughts.
You know, like Mama, Will You Love Me? And I'll love you. You know, all the other books that are about the constancy of parents' love. This is One Last Word by Nikki Grimes. It's a Hornbook, a Hornbook Boston Globe Honor Award winner already for this year by Nikki Grimes. And what she does is take classic poetry and then write in the same style a contemporary poem. We're going to see another book that does this as well. And I mean, it's just wonderful. These are called shovel poems because what they do is take the last line of the poem and then they use that last line, and the poem that they're writing to honor it has reading down the acrostic of that last line. I love things that just challenge authors to use language in very creative ways. So you get lots of wonderful different kinds of poetry here with Nikki Grimes.
The Wrong Side of the Bed is one of those great stories that show just how it's one of those how things go wrong in the morning. I mean, nothing is going right for this girl in the morning, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah, and I used to be afraid. It is also one of those stories that's they're moving. It's a moving story, and it's about dealing with change. And so, like, that's toward the end. It's like I used to be afraid of change, and then it's going to be coming to terms with having to leave what you knew behind.
Otherwordly has really unusual words in it. This is one of them, Sendoku, excuse me. It's Japanese for buying books and not reading them, letting them pile up unread on shelves and on top of nightstands. Or maybe you're a bibliothecary, which is one who collects, maintains, or cares for books. I think you ought to put that now on your library. You're no longer a librarian, you're a bibliothecary. You take care of the books.
Waste of Space, YA book. This is an interesting concept. Now, we're in a day and age in this book where it's one of those things where things have gone to the absurd. Okay, so like TV shows, reality TV shows are a huge deal in this world. And so we have shows like, instead of like America's Next Top Model, well now this is, they have America's Next Serial Killer or something like that. They're just odd things. Ratings is what everybody has to have. Well, a new TV company wants to pair with the science, like NASA, and then NASA says no way, so they have to go to the next step down from NASA organization, and they decide they want to put on a reality show where they take like 10 kids, teens, and put them in a spaceship and shoot them out there into space and record them 24 hours a day for 7 days a week and see how they live in space and the drama that can happen and all that stuff. Of course, all of it fixed to be, you know, how they like it. Well, the thing is they plan to do this fake. They plan to have it done on a sound stage, but the kids won't know it. The kids will really think that they're in space. Even though it's fake, things still go wrong. They lose communication. The kids think that they're lost out in space, and there are just problems. And they are wondering if they're ever going to get home.
This next one,
and Jonathan Mayberry, I'm on a space kick. In fact, I'm reading a space book now. Jonathan Mayberry, he's the guy that did Rotten Ruin, the zombie books. I love him. This is the story of a group that is going out. They're being sent. He knew this kid, he's like 17, knew he was going to be a part of the first mission to go and colonize Mars. Even though he knew he was going to be leaving, he still fell in love with a girl, and now the time has come to leave, and so he's really kind of sad about that. But in addition to that, there's some problems going on. There are people that are threatening their mission because they don't want them to go. And they find out another ship has been sent out before them, and they're like, why is that? Because we were supposed to be the first one. How has somebody already left? So they're wondering if what's really going on with this mission, and is it really worth their lives to go and colonize Mars? Blight. It's a new book coming out. It's a story of a place where like food and everything is very, very scarce. And corporations are set up instead in different parts of the country that are in charge of growing certain things. She lives in the safety of a community that is in charge of growing corn. And that corn that they grow is shipped then everywhere. The thing is not everybody likes to live within these confines of these companies. And they then have to live out on their own and scavenge, and sometimes they steal from these places because they do have to get food. Those people are shot on sight. They are not to be out there. The companies all want people under their control. She's an orphan. They killed her father for trying to steal corn. So she's been raised since she was a baby on up. So she's like working, it's like indentured servitude. She owes money to the company for raising her. So she works as a guard. Anyway, she gets hooked up with one of the ravagers out there who's living on their own as a rebel. And they get, a bio thing happens at one of their companies, and a blight takes over everything and kills people and kills crops instantly. And they have to see if they can save that so they can then, of course, not kill everybody and still have some food.
Beatrix Potter and the Unfortunate Tale of a Borrowed Guinea Pig. This is a children's book, a slice of life biography of Bea Potter. And I don't know how many kids still know Peter Rabbit, but they should, because those books are still like charming. Beatrix Potter wanted to sketch a guinea pig, and she had a neighbor who had one and asked to borrow it. And as you can see from the title, it's the unfortunate tale of a borrowed guinea pig. The guinea pig does not fare well in the story. I love the illustrations. They look almost comical because this is kind of a funny story. Rabbits were Beatrix's favorite animals. She loved to train them, draw them, and paint them. She named her first bunny Benjamin Bouncer. Later came Peter Piper. Her bunnies went everywhere with her and were quite happy to stroll along the streets of London on a leash. So there you see Beatrix as a small child with the bunny walking down the streets. She was a naturalist. She loved to draw and sketch animals and things in nature, and those were the beginning of the Peter Rabbit books, which, by the way, she had to self-publish because no publisher would take a chance on her because she was a woman and because she was not, she hadn't sold anything yet. It's like, what have you done for me lately? So she self-published, and then after that, Frederick Warne stepped in and said, oh, we'll publish your next book. And I was like, thanks, lots.
Yeah.
Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson has already received 4-starred reviews. It's the story of Jade, who is a scholarship student at her school. She's one of the few African Americans as well. And the school has a program that this year they're pairing up their at-risk kids with mentors. And she gets a wonderful mentor, but her mentor can be demeaning at times without meaning to be. And it's Jade trying to figure out how to get the experience of having this mentor who's really a bright woman, but she's kind of hurting her feelings by saying, well, people like you should be grateful for. And it's like, yeah, that's not good mentoring right there. So she's dealing with that. She's an incredible artist, and it's her finding her way in the world. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and I love the cover. I love the illustration of the young woman on the cover.
Dylan the Villain is a picture book that is hysterical and is great for language. It uses wonderful words. Basically, Dylan was born a villain, and it's the humor. It's like the opening that the doctor is looking at them, and they're like, well, somehow we had a baby. Like I don't know how this happened. But the greatest thing is when they show the frames of pictures of their family. There have been villains in their family throughout history, but that's the best part with the different scallywag, and they use this different words for villain. Anyway, he has a nemesis at school that's a girl who always does everything better than him, and he has to find a way to get her.
He goes to Astrid Ranson's Academy for the villainous and vile. It's wonderful language in here, yeah. Dastardly, villainous, lots and lots of rich language play. Loving versus Virginia is not quite a graphic novel, but it's a novel in verse with lots of illustrations about the couple, Mr. and Mrs. Loving, who took their case all the way up to the Supreme Court because the state in which they were living refused to recognize their marriage because it was interracial. And so they were harassed. They were told that the marriage wasn't legal, therefore their children were not legal. So the children were called names. And they finally decided they had to take this case all the way to the Supreme Court, who ruled, by the way, that interracial marriage was quite legal. Thank you very much. It's intended for younger readers, so there's lots of information there. What I love is they present Mr. and Mrs. Loving, and you've got to love that for a last name. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Loving, as real people. They're not heroic. They just want to make the point that what they have, the love that they share, the marriage that they have, the children that they've brought up, should be recognized for who they are. We saw Secret Coders, and we saw Real Friends. Meet Bat. That's short for Bixby Alexander Tam. But he goes by Bat because that's just faster. Bat is somewhere on the autism spectrum. His family knows that, his mom and his sister know that, although his sister still mercilessly taunts him about things. The people at school know that. He is in a class with a lot of other autistic kids and a teacher who knows how to deal with all of the different diversity that's there. Bat's mom is a vet, and one day she rescues a skunk. The skunk's mother has been hit by a car, but the skunk baby survives. And it has to be with her 24/7 so it can be fed, it can be tended to. And Bat falls in love with this skunk. Oh my goodness. He's just a perfect pet. And now it's going to be up to him to try to convince his mother that he should keep the skunk as a pet until it's released back into the wild. That takes a lot of learning and a lot of searching online to find out about skunk care. He carries the skunk most of the time around his neck in a sling. People say, "What's wrong with you?" And he says, "Nothing," and then he shows them the skunk. And people say, "Well, you know, what about what skunks do?" And it's like, skunks don't do that when they're babies, number one. And my skunk would never spray me because my skunk loves me. This is a perfect middle grade book, great read aloud, absolutely beautiful. We looked at Wires and Nerves earlier.
Ray Bott, it takes a while. A story of a robot who is not popping up there.
Well,
Ray Bott. Okay, so there he is. A robot that's alone and wants some company. And he finds a flyer somewhere that talks about a dog, and he's going to go out and find a dog. But the problem is the part of the flyer that had what a dog looks like was torn off. So he doesn't really know what a dog looks like. But he goes out, and it's basically his search for a companion. Basically asking, "Are you a dog? You know, do you go bark?" You know, so anyway. So there he is looking at a little bird. See. Oh my.
Get your Kleenex ready.
No joke. This is a killer.
There are two polar bears in a zoo. It's based on a true story, and they bond with one another. And it's the story about Ida always. Ida will always be with me. Ida will always watch over me. Ida will always be by my side. And it's what happens when Ida's no longer there. And you can kind of see their interaction. It's taking a long time for this to pop up, but there we go. Every morning when keys clicked and shoes clacked, Gus crawled out of his cave and spent his day with Ida. Ida was right there always. When Gus tossed a ball, Ida was there to catch it. When Gus splashed water, Ida was there to splash him back. They chased and raced until school bells rang. And it's talking about the polar bears and what happened when Ida dies and Gus is left on his own. So may as well just put a pack of Kleenex in there when you let kids check it out to read it. Lucky Broken Girl by Ruth Behar. It has gotten 4-starred reviews so far this year. It's based on her own childhood. It's set in the 60s. Ruth's parents immigrate from Cuba and to the United States. And what Ruth wants more than anything in the world is a pair of go-go boots, because Nancy Sinatra is singing "These Boots Were Made for Walking," you know, and her best friend has a pair and she really wants one. And finally her dad buys her a pair. And she wears them constantly. She doesn't care that her feet sweat in it. She doesn't care that her legs swell up while she's wearing them. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what she'll do. They go to visit some relatives, and on the way back, they're in a horrendous car accident. And Ruth as I said, this is largely autobiographical, but our main character is forced to be in bed for a long time. She has lots of broken bones, and she's in almost a complete body cast. So forget the go-go boots, forget any kind of boots whatsoever. She's told she's lucky to be alive, but she looks at herself and says, I'm a lucky broken girl. It is fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
The Night Gardener, gorgeous illustrations, wonderful look at, great for you to talk to your kids about the use of color, because in this world, in this story, everything, it starts out very dark and sepia brown, and nobody talks in the neighborhood, everybody's kind of sad and downtrodden, but then you see this man, the Night Gardener, and every night he trims trees into fancy shapes, topiaries. A little boy sees him one day and starts following him and ends up being an apprentice. But what you see is each time these people come out and see these beautiful creations, each time a new one shows up, the pages get brighter and brighter and brighter. People are friendlier and happier until the very end, when the Night Gardener goes on, the little boy is expected to take over, and the streets, everybody's talking, and it's just a beautiful place to be. Great for Grandpa Green, a little pair with Grandpa Green, because that's also topiaries, and then memory, and it's great. Hell World, it's a horror novel about two kids whose parents were on this news show. It's like Ghost Hunters. They went out to investigate this place that they were told was haunted and had bad, evil stuff going on. Well, they disappear, and they don't ever come back. And the girl is sure that her mom's still alive, and so for one last time, so that she can at least put this to rest, because her dad's been in depression and can't keep the job and is alcoholic, she's got to give them some peace. So her and the guy, the son and the daughter, you know, of the two different people, go and they're going to investigate. Well, they find something that is horrendous. And they let loose evil like you would not believe all over the world. And basically things are just going to come to an end, and it's their fault. And they've got to figure out a way to do something about it.
You remember Scorpion King, which won the Morris Award for Best Debut Novel?
Serpent.
This is Serpent King, thank you. There is a Scorpion King book, too. Goodbye Days is his second novel by Jeff Zentner. And it's the story of a group of friends. They call themselves the Sauce Crew. And Carver is one of the members of the group, and he is afraid that a text that he sent while his friends were driving to pick him up is the cause of the accident that killed them. He has now become an expert at attending funerals. But he's also a teen, and he thinks, is it ever going to be right to be happy again? Am I deserving of love? Because I bear some responsibility for texting my friends, knowing that they were driving, and of course knowing that they would probably pick up and look at their phone when they get texted. Stone Mirrors is a novel in verse biography. I don't know where you're going to put that in a genre-fied library, but good luck there. This is Janine Atkins, and it's the story of sculptress Edmona Lewis. Not much is known of her outside of her incredible work. But she did grow up. She was the mother. Her mother was African American. Her father was, her mother was Native American. Her father was Afro-Haitian. And of course, she didn't fit into any kind of place. She was a scholarship student at Oberlin, but was got kicked out, was disgraced because some of her friends, and put that in quotes, told a lie about her. And now she doesn't know what to do. She eventually ends up in Italy studying sculpture. And all of this is done in poetry. It is absolutely beautifully written. Janine Atkins has used this before, Borrowed Names, which were the biographies of the children of Laura Ingalls Wilder, Madam Walker, Madam C.J. Walker, and the Radium Woman.
Curie?
Yeah, Marie Curie, thank you. The Radium Woman. Look how I can make associations here.
Nemesis. Also, it's a science fiction, pretty scary. There's a girl, our main character, she's 16, and every year on her birthday, she is visited by the man in black with shiny black shoes and his long black coat, and he kills her every birthday since she was 8 years old. every 2 years, sorry, every 2 years. She's done everything she can to hide from this person, but he always seems to find her. She wakes up the next morning every time in this field, and she has to find her way home, and she doesn't know what's going on. Well, we find out there's another kid in town, that same thing happens to him. But he's handled it a different way. Instead of becoming strong and trying to figure out ways to outsmart him, he has relied on psychiatrists and medicine and people have convinced him he's crazy. We find out why and what this is all about, and it's definitely sci-fi. The explanation, basically the world is about to come to an end, and people have been running experiments, trying to see if what they are doing will help the human race continue, and they are part of the experiment to see if it can happen.
Got to read this. When My Sister Started Kissing by Helen Frost is a novel in verse as well. If you don't know Helen Frost's work, it's actually novel in poetry. I think sometimes novels in verse, the poetic form is kind of loose. But with Helen Frost, with Janine Atkins, with several others, it's a really incredible, they're classic forms of poetry. They include sonnets and things like that. It's the story of two sisters. Older sister is Abigail, but she wants to be called Abby now because, like, she's cool. And her younger sister, Claire. And they have a new family right now. Their mother died when Claire was very little. And Dad is remarried, and new mom, which they refuse to call her mom, is expecting their first child. And there's a lot of mixed emotions, but they're going to spend some time up at the lake house, which they do every year. And this year, though, Abby is kind of liking boys, and Claire's not quite there yet. She feels left out. She doesn't like all the changes that are taking place, but she learns that there are some changes that are probably pretty good. And Abby learns that just because a boy kisses you doesn't mean he likes you. Very important lesson.
Yes, it is.
More poetry. Out of Wonder by Kwame Alexander is beautiful and very much like One Last Word by Nikki Grimes. So here's a poem by E.E. Cummings. Now here's a contemporary poem in the same style. Here's a poem by Stevenson. Here's one in contemporary kind of style about contemporary topics. So it's a wonderful picture book, 16 poems converted to kind of contemporary time. And then Kwame Alexander's new book is called Playbook, 52 Rules to Aim, Shoot, and Score in This Game Called Life. It's nonfiction. It's advice for kids on how to be successful. For example, I wrote down a couple, here we go. When the game is on, don't fear. Grab the ball and take it to the hoop. The size of your heart matters more than the size of your opponent. So he has these wonderful little rules and then a story to go along with them. Sometimes the stories are about him, but they also include Mia Hamm. They include other athletes, other famous people, about how you have to keep trying. I think we need to buy a whole bunch of copies and send them to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because they're having a real hard time doing some winning right now. David Lubar wrote these books about a decade ago, and they're being reissued now through Scholastic. The series is called Monster Itch, and there are 2 books, Vampire Trouble, Ghost Attack, there will be more. And it's about a young boy named Alex who is allergic to ghosts, to vampires, to supernatural beings, but they always seek him out because he can help solve mysteries for them. So he knows if he's getting itchy, it means a mystery is getting ready to come, and there'll be a vampire or a ghost or a werewolf or something attached to it. They're funny, short chapter books. Kids will absolutely love them.
David Lubar is a go-to guy if you want funny books for younger middle readers. Yeah. It's great.
We love these memes. Books belong to their readers. We talked about the science comics this morning. We talked about Devane. We talked about Lint Boy. The new series is called 5 Worlds. It's 5 different graphic novelists who are each going to write a book in this series. And it's about problems in the world. Our main character is a heroic girl who has to save the 5 worlds from extinction. And so we've got book 1. The other 4 books will come along. Books fill my days, not to mention my bedroom, my living room, my dining room, and my closet. I try to reach out and pull the memes when I find them.
Book of Gold is another Ben, say his last name for me. stocking.
I'm not sure.
Whatever.
I have to
All
listen
right.
to it.
It's a little boy who hates to read. He doesn't want to read. He doesn't want to go to the library. Cannot find anything he wants. Nothing interests him at all. But in the library, an old man came up to him and said, "Well, do you know about the Book of Gold?" And he's like, "No, what's this?" Well, he tells them, one in a book that's hidden somewhere. When you open it up, it gives you, tells you where. It's a book of gold. It tells you where gold is. It's filled with gold, something. And so then he starts hunting. So he's looking and looking and looking forever. He looks at every book he can find, and it shows him growing older and older doing this. But as he's looking, he then gets to reading, and he gets hooked on books, and he realizes when he's old what the man did, and it got him hooked on books through that. And then at the very end, he comes up to a kid in a library, he does the same thing, and then that's the end.
Okay, 2 minutes and probably 20 slides, but we're going to do it.
Oh, 2 unicorn stories that are great. Funny on the left, touching on the right. Anyway, he's not a unicorn, he's a narwhal, but he wants to be. Book of Mistakes, interesting look at an artist who is talking about making a mistake, but it's not really a mistake because you can turn it into something else and it can become beautiful. Love letter between an ox and a gazelle, and it's adorable. Life on Mars, love this. He is determined to find life on Mars, but as he's searching, he finds nothing. But meanwhile, the reader sees that there is a being behind him the whole time, and he just never sees it.
This house once talks about the construction of a house, believe it or not. These windows were once sand where people walked. This door was once a redwood forest where people admired nature. It is absolutely beautiful and scientific at the same time, which is kind of hard to do. The bad guys, they just want to help people out, but people are frightened of them because they include a piranha, a shark, a wolf, but they just want to be helpful, doggone it, but they're totally misunderstood. And All the World, a Poem, is just gorgeous. It is a beautiful collection of short poetry. To write poetry is to pluck silence like a flower and press it gently between the pages of a notebook made of light. There is so much to unpack. There's so much beautiful language. And finally, this coming from Philip and Aaron Stead and Mark Twain, a lost manuscript has been discovered. And the story is called The Purloining of Prince Oleomargarine, and it is, I've only read the first chapter and I'm absolutely hooked. It will be coming from Random House a little bit later this year. So Karen and I and everybody else who loves books, we lose ourselves in books, but you know, we also find ourselves in there too. Thank you so much.
On the dot. Sit around on the corner. And,
I'm afraid, did I just lose it?
Okay, remember to turn off. But make sure you put
I don't know if I quit it.
recorder is recording.
Oh, good, I hadn't turned it off yet.